Knives Out, Ryan Johnson, who, if you watch our channel, did The Last Jedi. Will I like this movie? More on that later. Untype cast. Come on in. Sir, how are you doing?
Fantastic.
And why are you doing so well? I thought that you were having a bad time reviewing a movie that you despise. No longer regretting. Now you're untypecast.
Well, yeah, no, because this one I thoroughly enjoyed.
Okay.
Even though it's very, very weird.
Yes.
It's very hard to see Captain America and James Bond in those roles. Very hard. But I feel like, you know what? Okay, go. Introduce Chris. Cool.
And the person whose movie this is his pick every month. Each person has a week that they pick a movie, and we're going to find out why he decided to bring on Knives Out. Sir, how you doing?
First of all, how do you start off with tomfoolery? Like, I just don't understand.
Did Ryan Johnson not direct this movie?
Only you can start off with tomfoolery, but that's fine. That's fine. Yes, I did pick this because I wanted to pick another movie, and then I got beat up by some of our fellow co-hosts, and they were like, "Oh, let's pick a recent movie. Let's pick a more recent movie." And I realized this is a recent movie I had seen, and I wanted to watch it, so I wanted to give it a try. So this is the first time I picked a movie I have not seen. Will I enjoy this movie enough to give it a thumbs up or thumbs down? Stay tuned. Let's go ahead and go with Professor Plum with his synopsis.
All right. I actually took this one seriously because this is your review. So not like the other one, although the other one was accurate for The Force Awakens. But this one, after the death of the family patriarch, his children bicker and fight while the police investigate what appears to be a simple suicide. And that essentially is the synopsis, for Knives Out, a Ryan Johnson film. I believe it came out in 2019, 2020. Okay. Chris, why don't you tell us why you picked this movie?
I thought I did. I have not seen this movie yet. I really wanted to see this movie because the plot kind of appealed to me. I like the actors that are in this movie, and I was forced by our co-host to pick a more recent movie. So I just said, okay, fine. I picked Knives Out, and now I'm happy that I get to review a movie I've never seen before that I actually picked for once.
Okay. Would you like to tell us what you liked about it first, or you want one of us to go?
I can go. I can tell you a lot about this movie. I like the actors that were in this movie, whether it be James Bond is typecasted him to be, or whether it be Captain America is typecasted him to be, or whether it be the woman from Halloween. I forgot her name. Now Laurie.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Laurie, as Vic up there, typecasted her to be, or it could be General Zod. Because there were a lot of people in this movie. I do recall somebody saying to be or not to be in Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, be in this movie. He might have actually slit his throat. This movie was very, very good in the fact that it had a lot of actors. Now, where this movie lacked a little bit was the fact that some of these actors, I don't know what the hell you were doing. Now, I know the little twist at the end. I'm not going to spoil too much of the movie, even though if you're watching this, you probably already seen the movie. But what was Daniel Craig doing? What was Benoit Blanc doing throughout the movie? He was totally clueless all of a sudden, and he just stumbled into everything. He acted like he was completely onto everything at the whole time.
I had that question too, because was he phoning it in so that nobody would know that he was really onto them? Because there's a line, I'll get to that in my portion, where it makes it seem like he was on to what happened from the get-go, but there are certain scenes when nobody's around, but he's still playing the quote-unquote doofus.
Right. And I'll talk about that, like in the car when she dropped, when she went there to go meet up with the person. He's just there like la la la, just singing, or chasing, and it said, "Oh, Captain America did this and stuff." And I'm like, yeah. But then they sit down, and they talk, and he said, "I knew the whole time," and pointed to the. And I'm like, "Are you serious? What was going on?" Two, the ending was kind of predictable. After you found out who's responsible for his death, being the nurse, or at least you thought, they gave you so many clues that it was going to be Captain America the whole freaking time. So it wasn't a surprise. It was obvious at that point it was him. So that kind of was a bother to me. It was a little too easy to see. And then it just was so much going on that it was like, okay, is it this? Is it that? Which I know they wanted you to think and wanted you to do, but it doesn't even unravel together properly once it is unraveled. So I was a little confused by that. I was a little upset by that. But besides that, I mean, it will be pretty enjoyable. Whether or not it's going to get a thumbs up or thumbs down remains to be seen. But if you're into mysteries, this is a little bit of a letdown if you like to really keep them guessing until the end. On Typecast, what you think?
Well, the first problem I had with it was hearing James Bond speaking in a Southern drawl. Like, that was just like, okay, you really trying for your range now. All right, no doubt. Let's see what you do. So that's the first thing that just came into my head, because that was the last person I expected in that role and that way, for lack of a better phrase. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It was just weird. Very, very weird. When it came to that. Now, as far as the story, I was definitely I was captivated by the story because it's a situation where, especially like once the money started, when after the grandfather died and everything, and then once everybody started fighting over the money, wow, yeah, that situation, that's something that's very, very true to life. And I think that culturally they express these type of people very well. We have one person that's just like poor and good, and like, it reminds me of a lot of the show, like The Haves and the Have-Nots, where you have one person that's just poor and good, and then you have everybody else that's rich but just greedy and just terrible people, unfortunately. So for that aspect, it was cool, but I just couldn't get over the fact that, like, just about everybody was just literally sitting there just trying to be recasted, I feel like this movie should just be like the Untypecast. That's hence the name, because everybody literally is just trying something new, especially Captain America. Like, it is so hard to see Captain America. You'll see in my recasting anyway, but like, yo, I just couldn't get over Cap being so mean. You know what I mean? Even though, I'm not gonna lie, I did kind of like it. Like, you know what I mean? I think he could do it. He is so hard to see such a good guy, Captain America, sitting there and being smug and being like a douche. It was just hard for me to see that. But hey, he did it. He got it done. So I guess it worked out for him. But we'll see when Chris talks about the amount of money and all of that they made. But so far, I mean, I definitely wasn't.
A lot of you said a lot of things that I actually agree with this movie. I think, and I'll start with the quote unquote negative, but I don't want that to be an indicator of what I'll rate this movie. I was let down at the mystery, in that it wasn't a true mystery. I thought going into this movie it was going to be a true mystery, and I would get to figure it out as the story unfolded. And I like I like mysteries. And like, not even a quarter into the movie, oh, well, here's a flashback, and there you go. And it's the mystery is more, well, who done it? Hence why I call myself Professor Plum, because it's more like Clue, right? There was a great cast in this movie. I really liked it. Standout again, and it was mentioned before, Linda Drysdale, played by Jamie Lee Curtis. I liked her performance so much in this movie. She was so believable as a matriarch in her own house, and subject only to her dad, in that he, was the top guy in the family, right? But she ran her house. She ran her business. She was a person in her own right, and I like that. I like the strength of that character and how true it was. Another one that I'll give, and forgive me, I don't have the character's name out, is is the daughter who was in college, Tony Collette's daughter who was in college, because the whole movie she's supposed to be the quote unquote liberal or progressive. And as Vic alluded to, everyone else is they don't say right wing, but you hear a lot of conservative talking points. There's a scene where they have a political discussion, as it's called in the movie. And the daughter is always the stalwart, progressive, and liberal, and everything like that. But when the money is pulled away, right, you see her true character and nature. And after that point, once the veneer is gone, the mask never comes back on. That's her true character. And I like that they showed that. Ironically, to go to Chris Evans, and I thought he did a great job in his role, in his performance, because you believed him and you believed that he enjoyed causing that chaos among his family, right? And I think he's a good actor, and everything that I've seen him in, he's a great actor. That's why I found it hard to believe that he would make this 180. Now his rationale is, you give me a cut of the money, right, to the nurse, okay, but his tone was so markedly different. Again, and this is not on Chris Evans' part, this is how the script was written, that I could not believe the turn. There was no hint of douchery, as was said earlier. There would have been a residue. Not to get too graphic, there would have been residue, because when you see him with the family, who, as he says, they're my family. And you are a stranger. I don't care how close you get, you are a stranger in that sense, right? This is my family. And he was that mean to his family. There'd be no way that he could do a 180 and have no residue, unless all of that he was doing would be an act. And he's been doing it for years, even before the start of the movie, that I didn't believe the turn. Hence, the red herring is actually behind the mask. You know what I mean? It's Mr. Jenkins, right? The goofy nature of Clouseau, you know what I mean? Like, what is going on? Why is he acting goofy? Because everybody else is so busy bickering amongst themselves, they're not paying attention to him. They want the will to be read and everything like that. They all believe it's except for the actual killer, and I won't spoil that. Even though I kind of did, but they're all worried about the money. Nobody's really, not even the detective and the trooper are worried about what Daniel Craig's character is doing, Mr. Blanc is doing. So why the theatrics? It as far as internal logic, there's nothing to explain that away. And I said it in the last review, I got to be honest and say it in this one. So I didn't understand that. And especially because he was so concise with, I knew from the get-go, and this is why I saw it. And it's a Sherlock Holmes moment as far as subtle detail, right? And you could almost say that he has certain tells, like the footprints in the mud, but he plays it up so goofily. And then when he's like goofing around in the car, he doesn't hear the sirens until they're right on top of him. You know what I mean? Like, he's just going along with it. Why? For all you know, the killer could want to kill somebody else again. And if you're that good, Sherlock Holmes it, go in there and solve it. It was dragged on because the movie needed to be dragged on. Why was the mother there? I don't know, just a quirky, you know what I mean? Like, it was some lost potential there, and I think it kind of was diluted at certain points, you know. But I will say I enjoyed the flashback scene where we find out what happened to Mr. Thrombey. I actually was more engaged in that than trying to figure out who the killer was, because I knew who the killer was. And I will say that the dynamic between Christopher Plummer, who played Mr. Thrombey, the patriarch of the family, and Mrs. Armas, that's the actress's name, who played the nurse. You believe that they were not just, you know, one was the employer, one was, you know, the employee. They cared about each other. When she thinks that she's giving him the wrong medication, she's not concerned that she's going to lose her nursing license. She doesn't want her friend to die. And the look on his face, and you see the tears welling up in Christopher Plummer's eyes, the way he plays that scene is fantastic acting. And he says, and when we find out later that he left everything to her, she didn't know that. It's like he's confirming to himself, I made the right decision. because none of his other they would be delighted. They would go, oh, let's lay you down in the bed and speed up this process. But she didn't want that, and she didn't even know that the money was going to her. And he was smiling because he said the right person has the money and it won't corrupt them. Or they say money doesn't corrupt you, but enhances it. Ironically, since Chris Evans and the whole super soldier serum, but it amplifies or magnifies rather what you already are. She was an inherently good person. And that's the same thing that Blanc says to her at the end of the movie. You're an inherently good person. So it doesn't matter what I would suggest to do with the money. It's up to you. And it's kind of like a grayish ending in that she holds up the cup that says "My house, my rules." So I doubt that she gave them the money. I mean, which is in keeping with what Blanc seems to think or insinuate what he would do with the money. He wouldn't give them the money either. Now, one more bad thing that I'll say about this is that said, that dynamic between Thrombey, I wish there was more of that because there was chemistry there, and I mean that in a platonic sense. But as much as Blanc came off as like a doofus, which is completely off from when we first are introduced to him. He's on it, you know what I mean, and he's asking the right questions, and I like that, and that's why I like that Jamie Lee Curtis's character catches him. You're trying to bait me into this to do this. She nails him on it, right? And I know exactly who you are because I've read the article about you. So let's stop the games. What do you want? You know what I mean? That's what a business person would do, right? The nurse is running around like an equal doofus throughout the majority of this movie. And that was so hard for me to watch at times. She seems so weak. And if you watch other reviews, I can't stand it when they make the main character, she's the main character, even though it's an ensemble piece, and it's a woman, and they make them weak. Why? She has no agency. She's like, this is my first time at the rodeo. I'm running around like I got my head cut off. And I'm like, you're a trained professional. You know what I mean? What are you doing? Why are you acting so manic? Say that again.
That's what it is to be the help.
No. I'm not talking about she was not manic when she's there as a working capacity when she's watching the family bicker. That's the not the waitress, but the I don't know if you call her the maid, the housekeeper. The housekeeper was subservient like that, but the nurse wasn't. But when she's talking to the detectives and when she's talking to Ransom, the grandson, Chris Evans' character, she's very demurring and she's unsure of herself and it's like, yo, boss up. Like, I don't understand why you come. Like, because when you're talking to Thrombey, there's none of that,
facts,
bent over. You're talking like a human being.
Facts.
And he's the patriarch. And especially after we find out that she's inherited all the money, she's like, where's that coming from? It was so hard for me to watch. And I thought it was a little goofy, the whole thing. I throw up when I tell a lie.
Yeah, that was corny.
It was kind of Looney Tunes to me, but there are certain things in this movie that they set up as a payoff. I didn't think the payoff was that great that I need to see this Looney Tunes clownery. You know what I mean? So I heard a lot of hype about this movie, and this sounds like my final thoughts. I'll tease it. But did it live up to the hype? I don't know. I think we got a commercial break.
So we do find out what we're going to review next week, next Tuesday, of course, the franchise, and next Thursday, James's pick. Stay with us, watching a popular review.
To show me my place in all this.
Let the past die. Kill it. If you have to.
What's this guy supposed to be, the ultimate badass?
I'm looking for Llewellyn Moss.
You go up to his trailer.
Yes.
Do you want to leave a message?
Yes.
You don't understand.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Next Tuesday, of course, is the continuation of our Star Wars franchise movie picks. This will be Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Then next Thursday, continuing the host pick is none other than No Country for Old Men, which is going to be Professor Plum's pick. But today we're talking about my pick, which is Knives Out, and we are in final thoughts. Untypecast, take it away.
Really? You said your thoughts already? Okay.
I go last. What are you talking about? I always go last.
No, I mean, no, because James just went. That's why you didn't go yet. That's what I mean. No.
James did give his final thoughts. Yes, the knives were out.
Tonight we're performing live at the Laugh Factory. Everybody's got jokes here.
All right. So now clearly, I was entertained. I'll tell you that. Why? Because I was trying to figure out what the hell was going on with James Bond speaking like that and Captain America being so mean. However, I definitely did enjoy it because I feel like a lot of this movie was very true to life. As how what happens with people with money. I feel like a lot of this was definitely a shot to Donald Trump, seeming as how none of them started their businesses without help from Diddy. So I think that, you know, the old man is kind of I think the old man is kind of like a shout out to Fred Trump. You know what I mean? Who pretty much just gave his
I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
and gave his kids money, and you know, and you could see how they turned out when they never, how people turned out when they never actually put in the work. You know, when you don't understand what legislation is and what the three branches of government are, but you know what I mean, like that kind of thing. I feel like it was a shot to a person that was handed everything, and is accustomed to being handed everything, and how they turn out. I mean, in many different ways. So that dynamic I definitely enjoyed. Seeing as how it came out in 2019, I feel like it was very, very, very fitting. But then at the same time, one thing that I definitely saw, like I said before, is just like these guys were really just pushing the limits of their range. And even though I was bothered by the Southern drawl, I got used to it after a while, and I actually started to like the character. Same thing with Captain America. I mean, like I've never seen him that way before. But after a while, I started to actually get into it, and I mean, and to actually see Chris Evans with a smug look on his face like that, like it's very difficult for me to do, especially after seeing him as Captain America so many times. But you know, hey, I'll give it a thumbs up because I was entertained.
All right. So we learned many things. Clearly, that politics recasted in the final thoughts segment is still going strong with Vic. However, my question is,
now,
Mitch McConnell the mother of Thrombey in this movie? He never mentioned Mitch McConnell. That's his favorite guy. Also, is that Satan? Who was that? No. You heard the voices from hell yourself, ladies and gentlemen. It's not just me. Chris, where did you go? Somebody check on Chris, please. Stat. Another question is this, and I don't know, maybe I'm being too forward. Will Vic now be listening to the sound of Daniel Craig's voice? I don't know. He found it soothing. He kind of liked it. You heard it. You heard it yourself. Even the spirits answered back. Even the spirits. Everybody's watching the show, ladies and gentlemen, weren't you? Now, as I said, I thought this movie was going to be a mystery. It set me up for that. Chris always talks about how he goes in there thinking, you know, oh, based on what they showed and everything like that. I never watched the trailers before. I had a general idea based on word of mouth. There was no mystery. Then I saw who the red herring was. Okay. C's not paying attention. I said it was Satan and the voices from hell. That's what I just said. See, where are you at? Anyway, sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Somebody's being rude in there, jumping in the comments if you're listening to the audio. That C, the superior, I think her name's a lie. Let me put her comment back up on the screen right there. Anyway, but there was no mystery. The red herring turned out to be the person, and I knew it was him because, again, there would have been residue. Clouseau was so goofy, I said, why is he acting like Bugs Bunny throughout this entire movie? Or, according to Vic, Sylvester Sam, or what is it? Yosemite Sam or whatever like that, with the whole accent. What is going on? You know what I mean? And then, two, why is this woman who has a backbone all of a sudden putty when she's talking to people who now have nothing? It made no sense to me. But my friend did pick this movie. It is his birthday month. I tried to help him out, but PayPal was playing. I got to pay him back somehow. I'm giving this a tepid thumbs up.
All right, this movie got a 7.9 out of 10. It cost $40 million to make and made $311 million worldwide, 165 of it came from the United States. Let's get down to business. I went into this movie with high expectations. High expectations. This movie gave me a plot that was already done in 20 minutes after giving me 5 flashbacks. Then we get to her. I'm like, okay, get another piece of the puzzle. And then all of a sudden he's dead. I'm like, what? That's it? Movie over? No,
literally he goes like,
and the whole time I'm like, well, there's got to be more to it because he gave her this injection. She said, you got 10 minutes. You're going to start feeling symptoms in a couple minutes. He was talking the whole time, perfectly fine. I'm like, something's a little strange here, don't you think? He's not dying yet. He still have all his motor functions and everything. What's going on? Happened. She's full of remorse. Then you see subtle clues. Ransom's one of the biggest jerks I've seen since James decided to actually show up for work one day and say, you're welcome. So, like, it's strange. Then they'll start giving you other hits. Like, for instance, Ransom has dogs barking at him, but they mentioned earlier that the dogs only doesn't bark at people they like. Right? They mentioned that. I was like, okay, well, this is obvious right here. The guy's the guilty one. They get there, and then the place is on fire. And then he said, oh, did you check your email? Duh, no, I did check your email. Well, look, there it is right there. What is going on? Everybody's coming at this woman, and Ransom all of a sudden is not. He's nice. No. I had a bit of a problem with that. What saves this movie is the fact that it had a great cast. What saved this movie, there was a lot of funny scenes. Even at times I was like, is it supposed to be funny? But there were a lot of funny scenes in this movie. This movie teeters back and forth for me between a thumbs up and a thumbs down. I really, really was going to give it a thumbs down, but there's a sequel coming out. Shout out to Vic. There's a sequel coming out. And I have to admit,
Forks Up.
Speaking of which, how cheesy was it that he tried to kill a woman with a knife? We did it. I was like,
and they telegraphed that too. They say in the beginning that he had trick knives.
Exactly. I already knew it. Ladies and gentlemen, if it wasn't for the fact this movie gets a sequel, and I'm probably going to go see the sequel, and they're like, hey, Chris, you know what? First of all, I'll just see the sequel. Shout out to Star Wars. I'm going to go ahead and watch
it. Yes, exactly.
This movie gets a thumbs up for me.
Exactly. Shout out to Donald Pleasance for dressing up like Daniel Craig and being in Knives Out.
Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for our recast it because we probably don't even need it because it was all through this thing.
Here. We said it. We said it here.
Big
Donald Pleasance, Jamie Lee Curtis, Chris Evans as the grown-up boy that Jamie Lee Curtis's character was babysitting.
We're really not going to do recast it. Like, I have my recast.
I see you recast it. I see you recast it.
Okay, so I'll just say my recast it real quick. So for this guy, because of the Southern drawl, and honestly, like, I think he would have played this role pretty well too. You know what I mean? Being an investigator and all of that. But I would have preferred a real Southern accent. And lastly,
Catch Me Outside.
For this guy right here, The first person that I thought of immediately when I saw this role was this guy right here. Now, mind you, this is him being a guy that works for Donald Trump in the series Pose, because he's like a
What?
real actor in that show.
Poe?
Pose. No, Pose is about
Pose.
yeah, Pose is
Oh.
about Paris is Burning.
Yeah. I thought you said Poe.
Yeah, he's in that show, and he's like a real douche. And like,
Well, I can tell by his hair.
yeah. I mean, you know, I mean, 80s, and
That's because I'm sorry, Vic, you're getting a compliment. Vic always prepared. Good job. That's because he shows up, Chrissy. Because he shows up.
Thanks, Chrissy.
The knives are out. That cut, that hurt, that bleeds. Great recasted. I would have had to recast it. It was hard to recast this movie because of the actors and the actresses in this movie. They were all phenomenal, right? So I would have renamed this title Knives Out, the plot points, because there's a lot of plot points in this movie. Vic, take us home.
Wait, you want to say something? Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for our Knives Out review. Make sure to join us and check out everything that we do, because we do a lot. Thank you for supporting us, and thank you for all the love. Thank you, and have a great night.